Okay, hello everyone. So today we are going to present our lesson for poetry lesson for mother to son, and I will start with the objective. And for the objective, by the end of the lesson, students are able to number one, match the pictures with their correct meanings, followed by listen to the poetry recitation and answer to questions. Then identify the literal and figurative meaning of the poem. And lastly, express the feeling from the son's perspective. So let's start with the pre-lesson or pre-reading first. Let's go.
Hi, Dr. Eva. Our group, Afif, Muslim, and myself will be presenting the poetry lesson, and the poem's title is Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Okay, I'll be doing the pre-reading. In the pre-reading, the students need to look and observe. This is the visual engagement. So they need to examine the artwork. Students look at 10 numbered pictures before reading any text. Okay, and the next thing they're gonna do is to identify details. Okay, they need to focus on specific visual elements, for example, paths, muscles, holding hands, etc. This is to create mental visual anchors. Okay, the teacher then show this list of vocabulary from mother to son, the poem itself. So number one is the crystal stair, number two text, number three splinters, number four board, number five landing, number six path, number seven strength, number eight courage, number 9 support, and the last one, number 10, is hope. The next thing the students need to do is to read and connect. This is the vocabulary introduction. So review definitions. Students read 10 vocabulary terms alongside their literal images and symbolic meanings. Okay, the first one is crystal stair, and the meaning is very difficult life experiences. The next one is text, small, sharp, sudden pains. Splinters, small, nagging hardships. Bored, life's bare conditions. Landing, rest or success after a hard journey. Okay, next one is path, the road taken in life. Strength means power to keep going. Okay, courage, bravery facing challenges. And while support is help and encouragement. And the last one, hope, feeling that good things are possible. The student will continue the activity by matching the meaning to imagery. This is an active learning. Alright, so they need to pair the term to picture. Alright, students match each vocabulary word to its corresponding illustration. Okay, and then explain reasoning. They need to verbalize why an image fits its definition. For example, why a sunset represents a landing. Okay, and then the next activity is contextual application. This is speaking. All right, so the students, they need to create sentence. This is sentence creation. So they have to write a complete sentence using 2 to 3 of the vocabulary words. Okay, so again, they need to relate their own personal connection. Okay, so the students share out loud what a specific picture makes them feel based on personal experience. All right, they have to relate their own personal experience. Okay, and the last one is to make predictions. Okay, this is the teacher's bridge. Hypothesize teams, choose 2 to 3 words and predict how the mother in the poem will use them to give advice to her son. Okay, the rationale behind these activities, why this activity works. Okay, this activity actually activates the prior knowledge. Pictures create strong visual hooks that make abstract poetic metaphors easier to understand. So utilizing pictures or visuals, slow students can understand metaphors much easier. All right, so the next one is reduces cognitive load. Pre-teaching the words prevents students from getting stuck on difficult vocabulary, allowing them to focus on the poem's deeper emotional meaning and themes. So the students are not hindered with the words or difficult metaphors. They now can focus or shift their attention towards the deeper emotional meanings or themes. Okay, and the last one, it builds confidence. Starting with imagery lowers the barrier to entry, ensuring all students feel prepared to engage with the literature. So the student will feel easy when they start reading the poem.
Alright, moving on to the next stage, which is while reading activity or while reading stage. Actually, we have 2 activities that I would like to present for this part of the presentation, starting with listening to the poem. So basically at the start of the listening part, students will be given 2 questions, which are: who is talking? Is it the mother or the son? Or what message does the poet try to tell? So the justification behind this question is to allow students to have at least a focus on what they listen to. Otherwise, they may be distracted with other aspects of the poem. Maybe they focus so much on the figurative metaphor, stanza, alliteration, and etc. We don't want that. Because it can cause difficulty during the discussion toward the end of this particular activity. So that's why the question is important, so that they know what to listen to at least. The next part is people's asked to listen to their teacher reading the poem with full of expression. And this is actually important because when listening to their teacher, students are able to at least guess the meaning of the poem based on the expression. Sometimes you don't need to say that you are angry to know that you are angry, something like that. Let's say a student don't even know what the word angry means, but they actually can guess. And this is quite important because poem or poetry deals with a lot of non-literal words. So it's quite a hard task for students to actually guess if they take it on the face matter. But if they look beyond it through expression, hand gesture, intonation, and etc., that can help them to understand or at least guess the meaning of the words that may not be familiar to them. Again, that leads back to the pre-reading activity where students basically are actually already exposed with some words in the poem. So that's why the first stage and the second stage are correlate with one another. And that leads us to the third part of this first activity, which is once finished, pupils are asked to share the answer to the questions. And this discussion is important because it ensure that pupils have the right gist of the poem. If they not, that's how teacher as a facilitator of the class can correct the student if there is any misinterpretation. So most of the output come from the students based on the listening stage just now, but teacher are there to just to fix here and there if there is any mistake. So that's pretty much the listening stage. Next one is answering the worksheet. So for the worksheet, pupils are given a worksheet which consists of the complete poem and exercise. The exercise requires students to provide literal and figurative meaning of several words taken from the poem as shown as in a pen right now. There you go. I will touch on that worksheet right after this, but let me justify first why this worksheet is quite important. It's important because first of all, the worksheet has the poem, which allows students to read on their own and reconfirm their gist from the previous listening activity. And meanwhile, the presence of the exercise allows students to examine literary devices such as metaphors and imagery, since poetry, again, as I said this just now, it conveys meaning through figurative language and symbolism rather than direct statement. Okay, so that happens in this poem Mother to Son, where expressions like crystal stare, text, and splinter carry symbolic meanings that represent life, challenges, and perseverance. And this activity promotes deeper interpretation and critical thinking because students move beyond literal meaning to infer hidden message and themes. And speaking of themes, we comes to the last part of this particular activity, which pupils' answers are checked by teacher by discussing with student. Again, just like the early discussion, again, students give 100% output. Teacher facilitate the idea that they try to convey. So the discussion allows students to share their thought process on how they manage to get both meaning. We, rather than saying only the outcome, we want to know the process. The teacher want to process, and the discussion can be concluded by the teacher by highlighting determination as the theme of the poem. So from the way we expose the vocab just now, and then they try to get the idea of the poem, and now they connect, everything is connected from the vocab and the figurative meaning, and also the recitation made by the teacher, and everything combined to make them aware of the theme that they present just now. So overall, both activities in while reading stage is connected with each other, again, as provides an effective scaffolding, because scaffolding is actually a support where we want students to get to one stage, but in order to do so, we cannot push them right away. So we provide them support, one support with, and then followed by another. So we provide them with vocab, provide them with the recitation with expression, followed by the meaning, the direct meaning, and the literal meaning, and then the figurative meaning. So things get challenging as we goes along. So as a result, they understand the true meaning of the poem across all 4 stages of Bloom's taxonomy thinking levels. And for the listening activity, it managed students to at least memorize and identifying the character, and then they try to understand. So they identify the character, remember the first question just now, and then they understand the gist of the poem. And speaking of the memorize, the vocab can be a part of memorize. They memorize certain word, the staircase, um, the word courage. They memorize first, and then they try to understand within the context of this poem. And then for the second activity, it lets students to analyze by identifying both literal and figurative meaning of the word on the poem, and to evaluate by identifying significance of literal device. Use poem toward building its theme. So that's pretty much the second part. Let's move on to the third part.
Good evening, Doctor. Now I will continue with the post-reading activity from the poem Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. For activity 1, revisiting the mother's advice, this will take 5 minutes time for the activity. For step 1, first, the student revisit the key messages from the poem, and then the teacher will display the questions. What advice did the mother give to her son? On step 2, the students discuss their answers with a partner for about 2 minutes, and then the teacher will collect their responses and write them on the board. For step 3, the teacher lists students' response on the board, and then expected responses from the students is that never give up, keep moving forward, stay strong during difficulties, and learn from challenges. The teacher then reminds students that the mother continued climbing despite many hardships, which introduces the transition to the next activity where students take on the role of the son. The materials for this activity will be the PowerPoint slide. On the PowerPoint, there will be displayed the mother's advice. Never give up, keep climbing, be strong, and persevere through difficulties. Now move to activity 2, becoming the sun. This will take 8 minutes time for this activity. For step 1, the teacher will ask students, if you were the sun, how would you feel after hearing your mother's story? The teacher will guide pupils in discussion by referring to the poem and highlighting the keywords. Examples: I feel grateful, I feel inspired, I feel proud of my mother, I feel motivated to work harder. Then in step 2, students will complete a simple planning worksheet. This is the material uh, with the title I Am the Sun worksheet. The students will complete the I Am the Sun worksheet where they reflect on their feelings toward the mother, the lesson learned, a promise they would make, and the advice they would remember. After that, several students share their responses with the class. This helps students connect emotionally with the poem and prepare ideas for their own writing. After that, the teacher discussed several responses with the class. The possible answers that were gathered from the students are grateful, inspired, proud, and determined. Moving to activity 3, building a poem together. This will take 5 minutes times. For step 1, teacher displays a simple poem structure. This is the poem frame that the student will be given. The student will look and analyze first before they are doing this activity. For step 2, the teacher will demonstrate one example. Before the students write independently, the teacher will provide a scaffold through a poem frame. For example, this is the poem that provided by the teacher. Mother, thank you for your guidance. Your words are a light in the dark. I have learned to be strong. I promise that I will never give up. I will keep climbing every day. Your son. The teacher modeled how a simple response poem can be written and explained that students may either follow the structure provided or create their own version. This step support mixed ability learners by giving them a clear writing guidance. Moving on, activity 4, writing the response poem. For the step 1, students will write their own poem title, Son to Mother. These are the requirements need to fulfill by the students. It will contain 5 to 8 lines. Uh, they have to express feelings toward their mother. They have to include one lesson learned and also one promise and one simple figurative expression. To support students, the teacher provide a figurative language bank. This is the figurative language bank. Students may choose any of these figurative language, such as your words are light in the dark, your love is a bridge, hope is a shining star. During this stage, the teacher will monitor and assist students when necessary. Finally, for activity 5, poetry sharing sessions, uh, for step 1, the students will exchange their poem with their partner, and then for step 2, they will identify the theme, the promise made by the sun, and the figurative expression used in the poems. And then in step 3, selected student then recite their poems to the class with the teacher's guidance. And to conclude the lesson, the teacher emphasized that just as the mother persevered through difficulties, the son has learned the importance of resilience, determination, and moving forward in life. In conclusion, this post-reading activity allows students to demonstrate their understanding of the poem creatively while integrating personal reflection, figurative language, and writing skills. That's the end of my presentations. Thank you.